Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, we managed to sway the opinions of some of the jury members, and at that, Van Zieks called forth the witnesses, a beat cop and his wife, who have much different levels of energy, I must say. Now, we managed to press them quite hard, but it seems that their story checked out and there was no fault with it. But then Patricia took a blow to her ego, at least a self-perceived one, and she's claiming that her memory's perfect. And then she said, I could even tell you the names of the 4 books he dropped at the scene. And I think that's not quite true, because this photographic print only shows 3 books. Now, I'm expecting Van Zieks to counter and say, oh, there's a 4th book behind the victim. It's just not in the photograph. To which we can show the receipt, which has 3 books. So let's try it.
Objection!
So, you're saying that there were 4 books?
That's right. I remember all of them. The picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and The Thingamy Something.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat, but there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours.
Oh no, what? What flaw?
Simply that, at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4.
What?
Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. As you can clearly see, there are only 3 books.
But no, that can't be. I saw them. Oh, I know what it is. Yes, you can't fool me.
Sorry?
It's that big old lump of a dead body. The lady's so large, her corpse is blocking the view of the 4th book, that's all.
It's not a corpse, she's alive. Also, all according to plan. Ha-ha! Let's at least try to remember that the poor woman isn't dead, even if we're insulting her size. Oh, you're one to talk. You're making so many fat jokes at Jones' expense. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But Mr. Natsume could not possibly have dropped the 4 books you describe.
Why not?
Fascinating. And from your assured tone, something you can readily substantiate with evidence, I presume. Evidence. Counsel, you will present evidence to substantiate your claim or withdraw it. What proof do you have that the accused did not drop 4 books? I got the receipts.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in the form of this bookshop receipt. From your books? Yes, this receipt details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed.
No.
Therefore, Mr. Natsume would have only dropped 3 books at the scene of the crime. Which means that your powers of observation, madame, cannot be relied upon. So it cannot be denied that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken.
Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no, no!
Oh!
Objection!
Look at that, they are connected, aren't they? Unless she was just holding one of the scarf ends. I can't tell. It's plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these 2 witnesses saw the accused running from the scene. A fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Would that be fair? He sees right through me. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. Yeah, I'm not sure backfire even existed as a term yet. Did people of this era know about gunpowder yet? What are you talking about? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every aspect. Respect.
Oh,
You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say there's a second print? Damn it. Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride? Wasn't that the book that was in Mr. Gairdeb's room? And it had the bookmark in it? Hold on. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No! Uh-oh. Oh, they are linked. I knew it. You could see it there. Ordar. Ordar.
there. You see? You see? Look at that. Look, look, look.
Yes.
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right, sir. Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please.
Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other.
The picture of Monsieur Lecoq.
What's it, yearnings?
Canterbury Yearnings.
A meal for someone?
A meal for Gabbaro, in fact. As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Yes, sir. Flawless, sir. Patricia is flawless. But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4. There's nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. Yeah, it must have belonged to the victim. I'm sorry, counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all, my lord. As the photograph clearly shows, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book?
I wonder, what became of that 4th book?
Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence. You will submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel. My pleasure, my lord. The fourth book. I need to look at that immediately.
Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride.
I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard.
Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange.
I think I have heard of a book by that name before, and very recently too.
It's a title I recognize too, Mr. Naruhodo.
What the?
It's partially burnt. Oh, look at this. The book has been badly burnt.
You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages.
What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of the paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently.
A book recently damaged by fire. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? It was absolutely in possession of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Did they doctor the crime scene? Or maybe Olive Green just took it from their collection. The prosecution rests. Wait, really? You do? Doesn't that mean you can't make any more actions? Like if we manage to succeed in getting another point across, you can't do anything now? I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend. But your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused's lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile? I walked right into this, didn't I?
You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yes, Pat. Marry me, Pat. You're already married. You just celebrated your first anniversary. So, perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions. Should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Wow. Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? You have heard all the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course.
Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we are in a terribly precarious position.
I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? If we wait and see it, we're just gonna lose. We need to raise an objection.
Objection!
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. That last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but... I can't think of what to say.
If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point.
Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. Wow! For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this.
Oh.
I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. So you will have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential and her opinions invaluable. Oh, that's a great line.
Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance. So the court will hear you, madame. Go ahead, Mr. Sato, please. Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment.
Oh, I just had a thought. What if the burnt book was tossed out the window? Like I was going on and on about maybe Joan Garadeb threw a knife out the window and that's how it got embedded in the victim's back, but what if a burnt book was thrown out? And Olive Green, picked it up to look at it in curiosity?
And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why. So we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible.
Way ahead of you. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I can't let it go to waste. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked. The fourth book has its back cover badly burnt.
Take that!
The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene. Huh? The fourth book found in the victim's hand. Yeah, that.
Objection!
We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, no significance has been attached to it. Wow, what the hell are the boys at Scotland Yard doing? The frick? Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear? Oh, yes, my lord. It's,
Mr. Naruhodo, I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence. Which means you may very well be on the right track.
Yes, I think you might be right. So, counsel, precisely where is the vital clue to this case which this fourth book conceals?
Boop.
Got it!
I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question. The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp. So we have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend? Oh. Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, there is nothing to discuss. So should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide? A charred book. There is just one possibility here which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. No, it's an inside chance because it happened indoors. Alright, I'll explain my theory. Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage this sorry tome has suffered? Its owner. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner. I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers.
The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense has very credible answers. Good gracious, how can you possibly... Very well, I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry. Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So, tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book? One John Garadeb. I mean, unless it's Joan. Nah, John's the head of the household. It's John Garadeb.
Take that!
The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. The landlords? Oh, he's actually taken aback. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know, but... Of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadeb herself.
Oh my goodness me. I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadeb's wife. I'm his maid.
Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadeb's house?
I would never presume to know all of the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
This is not mere conjecture. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed in the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house. Good Lord! What sort of incident, counsel? A fire, my lord. Afraid to say it happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course, but the bally furniture started going up as well. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Pride. Oh, it wasn't the book with the bookmark. I get it. The Lion's Pride? By Jove! The very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is risible. Risible? All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire. In which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime. Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. Without going into details, it appears that Mrs. Garadeb was considerably enraged. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garadeb even amid the flames.
Oh, how awful. I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rolly?
You say as you yank him around by his neck, like he's on some sort of leash.
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir.
And now that I look at it, it does look like the window pane is broken. Unless it's frosted. I can't tell. Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Then the wife started hurtling things at me. There was I, back up against the window under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books incoming 10 to the dozen. The man had his back up against the window, and he had burning books thrown at him. Goodness gracious, are you suggesting that the book was thrown through the window and landed coincidentally at the scene of the crime?
Objection!
No. A thorough investigation of the surrounding area was conducted the very evening of the incident. And there is no report of the Garadeb's window pane being broken. Oh. That's quite true. We also saw no sign of broken glass when we visited the Garadeb's household. But is it not conceivable that the window was open at the time and not even remotely? Let us not forget the season and the chilling weather that accompanies it. No Londoner would ever leave a window open in the middle of winter. Does the defense postulate this scenario in all seriousness, counsel? Do you earnestly claim that the book found at the scene was a flaming projectile thrown by Mr. Garadeb's wife?
I believe it's a possibility, my lord.
That's quite enough.
Well, I hope that everyone can see you for what you are now, you little foreign trickster.
Please don't bring nationality into this.
You call yourself a lawyer, but you're just a coward, a mean coward.
Really?
Claiming that our little tiff set the whole neighborhood alight, honestly. Implying that I'm merely posing as a maid for appearance's sake. How could you? It's nothing to do with this beastly case, not any of it. All you've done is sully our family's name.
Our family? No, I assure you that was never my intention.
Dragging an upstanding citizen's name through the mud simply to divert attention from your failing defense. I should box your ears, that's what I should do. It's utterly unforgivable.
Too right. Here we go. How long have we sat here now listening to this Nipponese spouting out his fancy foreign theories? But think about it. At the end of the day, the only person who could possibly have stabbed the victim is that little hunchback with a mustache, and he ran away from the scene, too.
I do declare you're right.
It's true.
Yes, what did I tell you?
Makes sense to me.
Sorry, what's that?
Well, it would appear that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury are once again in full agreement. What is your position, Lord Van Zieks?
In truth, my lord, I feel these have been unnecessarily protracted proceedings. But then, one must always exercise patience in order to savor the best vintage. No, wait. The mystery of the fourth book still hasn't been...
He brought the foot down.
If books are your predilection, my learned friend, study them on your own time. What? No, forgive the discourtesy this time?
In that case, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will now state your individual decisions regarding the defendant's culpability for the court to hear.
Guilty!
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.
Crap.
We can do it a second time, right? Or this is the part where Gregson or Hosonaga just busts in through the door and says, "Hey yo, Mrs. Green woke up."
Thank you for that unambiguous response.
That's twice now. It's over. Mr. Naruhodo, don't give up. Mr. Sato? Have you forgotten? The battle isn't over yet. You're not suggesting... Of course, the defense has the right to another summation examination at this point.
It does?
You could still convince the jurors to change their minds. You have one more chance. My lord, the defense asks to exercise its right to a summation examination. You believe you still have tricks up your sleeve.
I don't intend to trick anybody. I intend to uncover the truth. This is no time to be downcast. As long as there's a chance, I have to stay strong and determined. Oh, to be continued, you say? Interesting. I think this might be the third a bit of a trial. I think this is the second to be continued here. Interesting. I think. I have considered the defense counsel's request for a further summation examination of the jury. And I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to the procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman. We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Well, here we go. These have been pretty easy to do so far. I wonder if there's going to be a challenge soon. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his.
If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it?
Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit.
So, if it was only life-threatening, not life-threatening, and what Mrs. 2 said. Oh my god, are we actually steering towards the knife theory? Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tiny bit of trouble. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes. Yes, considerably more tangible arguments from all members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Oh my god. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way.
That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here?
Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Oh my god, it's true! My stupid, crazy theory from way back is actually gonna be true! Oh, with knife-throwing talent like that, she should join the circus. She can be the knife-throwing lion. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was, thinking this might be hard.
But, Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise, this really will be where the trial ends.
No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, Counsel.
Oh, yes, my lord. All right, Ryunosuke, focus your mind now. Clearly, the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid. Or should I say Mrs. Garadeb? We have a book that disappeared from the Garadeb's house on the evening of the incident. And the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garadeb and how she reacts, even to the things other people say.
Aha. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his.
Hold it!
But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3.
Well, what difference does it make?
There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord.
Yes, that's the part I have a problem with.
Sorry?
Well, at the point the woman was stabbed, this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said.
That's not exactly how I put it, no.
Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
Huh. I think that's what you call a strong alibi.
So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only leaves the Nipponese fellow. Honestly, I can't see what all this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it?
I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh my, such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman.
That's great.
If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So I read them in the first place. You see, modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking, wouldn't you say?
I think staying willfully ignorant of the news is none of those things.
And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man had been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say?
Overwhelmingly.
But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one.
I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could.
Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady.
Right, I'm glad you omitted rational there. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it?
Hold it!
Well, what about the possibility the window was open?
What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been.
How can you be so sure?
The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us Londoners like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see?
But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you?
It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point in even having windows, huh?
Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering.
Oh, sorry. Somehow I need to show there's an undeniable possibility the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even a direct hit.
Hold it!
But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know. Oh, so you loved your employer. There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Ugh. We need to savor this moment. It's lines like these that you can only find in Ace Attorney. Well, he brought it upon himself. It's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Mrs. Garadeb. Never you mind that. The point is, we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. She's not even denying it anymore. And I won't have any more of these suggestions that it was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, well, we'll see about that. But what about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garadeb's relentless onslaughts. Almost like he's used to it. Yeah, yes, Usato, he's almost like he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is. That's weird.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, it'll be a tidy bit of trouble.
Hold it!
You just want to get this over with? How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here.
Well, him and me both then, like I said before.
What?
I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, it's not pronounced Thames, it's Thames? Thames? It was some weird name. A weird pronunciation. I forget though, and honestly I don't care. What?
You heard me. My missus isn't one to mess about, you know. She can be fierce, believe you me.
Oh, that's why he's so used to the being hit. Oh no. Another shining example of marital bliss then.
A situation like this cropped up the other day. It was, well, do you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember.
Uh-oh, he has head trauma. Sorry?
It was too frightening, that's the thing. I must have blocked it out.
Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Bede will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Miss Usato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneezes.
Hold it!
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top, it did. What a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Oh yeah, I guess he wouldn't know. Of course not. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, obviously. It seems that's a common custom here in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, I mustered all my puff to blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go out, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how did you catch a cold from the fire? Ah, I get it. I know where this is going. What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, bless them, threw water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then, because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it. The windows. The biting winter air rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave, it did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It put me in hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was devil worship all along. But something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street. As well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes. I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go over in for a strike. That's the spirit. Alright. Well... his testimony changed. Winter house fires are dire. You have to open windows to clear the smoke. That's when the chill get to you, see. My god, I think I just solved this. The full chain of events. So, Joan discovers the bookmark in the left open book. Mistakenly thinking that her husband was cheating on her, she flies into a rage and starts smashing up their house. She knocks over the candlesticks, which were lit, and it goes flying over to the bookcase. The bookcase catches fire. Mr. Garadeb moves to the window to open the windows, letting the cold air in and to let the smoke out. Joan, still in a rage, picks up the burning books and throws it at Mr. Garadeb. It misses him, it sails right out the window. Olive Green, who is passing in the street across the street from the building, sees the book fly by, or perhaps just notices it in the snow, and picks it up in confusion to examine it. While she's holding it, Joan escalates. She throws a knife at her husband. The knife misses, thank goodness, and sails clean out the window. Olive Green, facing the alleyway, has her back turned to the house, the window. She has her back turned to it. The knife sails through the air, embeds itself in her back. And Soseki Natsume, in the wrong place at the wrong time, sees this woman just fall down out of nowhere. Not seeing the knife, apparently. It's so stupid,
but it's plausible. That's the best part. Everything I just said is plausible. No, more than that, it's likely. So yeah, we'll combine 3 and 6 next time. Seems easy and straightforward to me. By Jove, I think I solved it. It was elementary, dear Watson. Wilson. Dare I say it? And I do dare. I'm daring here. I'm making a dare. I'm risking things. We might finish this case next video. Though, come to think of it, everything I've just explained, everything I've put together, still, nothing actually explains why Joan was monitoring her tenants, surveilling them. That is still a question. Meh. Well, I guess we'll just have to solve what we know we can solve right here, and then we'll see what happens next. We still might have a fight on our hands, but the near future, it's easy street. I know what to do. I hope. There's still a possibility I'm completely wrong and I'm gonna look real foolish, but hey, it's in the name. I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.